In an age where social media is used to check on news and find out what's happening in the world, find out others' opinions on important topics, and share your own beliefs, online censorship has a role in keeping people safe. But there is a point where it can go too far and it inhibits people's rights to information and their own opinions, as we have seen in many other countries. That is why not letting censorship get too far is wildly important. We need to put regulations and extend upon current policies regarding the government's involvement in online communication platforms, as this is a question of our freedom and rights as Americans. Looking at the current owners of some of the main social media platforms, some believe the government should take over their censorship and what is allowed versus what isn't, and others think there is already too much government involvement. So thinking about next steps sooner rather than later is especially a predominant issue. In an article entitled Freedom of Expression, Social Media Censorship, and Property Rights, written by a professor from Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok by Dr. Pavel Slutsky in 2020, who focuses his studies on government intervention, he wrote specifically about Mark Zuckerberg's opinion on the government's role in social media, stating he believes it should not simply be up to Facebook and other private companies to set and enforce their own rules for participants, especially when it came to political speech. And as Meta is advancing and becoming a parent company to many other social media sites, this is an alarming issue. A very good example of where this has already happened is in China, where in an article by Beina Xu for the Council of Foreign Relations entitled Media Censorship in China in 2014, she wrote that China's official media policy in its constitution affords its citizens freedom of speech and press, but the opacity of Chinese media regulations allows authorities to crack down on news stories by claiming that they expose state secrets and thus endanger the country. So, even with freedom of speech in their country, online platforms can be heavily censored, leading to a lack of knowledge available in others' opinions, especially about the government online. This is a rising issue, especially as online communication and social media becomes people's main sources of news, specifically regarding politics. A lack of others' opinions and disagreements with the government can in a way force a filter bubble to surface. This is where you only become aware of your own bubble of information given to you, and you lack outside views and ideas. There's also the idea that there should be intellectual freedom. In a University of Chicago press journal written by Emily Knox in 2017, entitled Opposing Censorship in Difficult Times, she described intellectual freedom as the right to access the whole of the informational universe without fear of reprisal from the powers that be. And looking at government censorship on social media, we can see it infringes on our intellectual freedoms by taking away the access to all information online. The reason this topic is so relevant is because as the age of technology advances, more people are going to be affected by changes in online censorship. This affects students, political groups, social movements, and many more people in their day-to-day lives. Government censorship, as we have seen in other countries, has led to political figures and political movement members getting thrown in jail or even killed as they are seen as disobeying government order. The more data we receive and the more questions we would have about the world around us, the more important information on the internet is, as it can do wonders for a society. It allows for open communication with people from other countries, other regions than you, and it allows you to escape your bubble of information. This brings into play the agenda-setting theory as well, in which the media has a relationship with the public's opinions or views on a topic, and they correlate with each other. In other words, the media allows and pushes us to form our beliefs and opinions, so taking away certain media is controlling us. With that being said, we need to talk about solutions to this precarious issue. One idea could be enforcing that social media and online communication platforms are privately owned sectors, in which the owners of those companies can create their own guidelines around their websites while halting government interference. The whole idea with a privately owned business is that it is owned by the individuals, not the government, meaning the government cannot ban users, ideas, opinions, or public information. But this is the case right now with social media companies. We can see, as I mentioned above, that some of the leaders of these platforms believe strongly in government involvement and think that they should be put into the place their own set of federal censorship. So keeping this from happening by putting laws into place or codifying pre-existing laws could allow for other social media sites and founders to deny government access to the way they run their sites. A start to this solution would be lobbying for legislation and finding a place to put ads to ask for public outreach to see what the general population's opinion is on the topic. All in all, we want to have this measure and this idea end up on a ballot. So starting small at a local, then county-wide, then government-wide level is important. Work our way up through the sections of government to land on a final decision to put into law. Once this is done, and if we could succeed, it will be a major push towards protecting our freedom of speech and our information we can receive. With these measures set in place as law, we can continue on as leaders in democracy and freedom and help fight against government regimes in other countries currently taking away these rights. If we do not act on this, I fear we will lose all of these abilities and head down a darker path of more and more censorship and control. What can you do? We need to work together to uphold our freedoms and make sure to exercise our right to vote and voice your opinion on online communication spheres. Some citizens of other countries do not have these abilities, so do not take them for granted, and let's protect ourselves.